Welcome, everyone, to another Univirtual Experience, a partnership conference and festival with Virtual World Society and educators in VR, bringing together experts and innovators in immersive education, disrupting education around the world. And one of the great things is we get to interact with all of you. So we're so glad you're here. So before we begin this fireside chat bringing families together in VR, we'd like to take just a moment to acknowledge and thank our sponsors who actually make this all possible. HP Virtual Reality and HP Higher Education are our Infinity sponsors. They just released a new edition of the HP Reverb G2 that is perfectly designed for higher ed with pulse and eye monitoring and testing and other innovations, excellent for precision controls, research and development. Check out the articles, maybe on our website at Educators in VR, or you could head to hp.com, virtual reality, and HP Higher Education and learn more. We'd also like to thank our Galaxy sponsors, Engage VR and Avantis, also changing education in VR and XR. We'd also like to take just a moment to thank our stellar sponsors, Grove XR Educational Learning Platform at grove.us. And we want to mention one of the people on stage right now. TheVRLady is Dr. Angelina Dayton. She is founder and director of Students in VR at TheVRLady.com. Myself, my name is Donna McTaggart. Donna McT is how everybody knows me. And it's just a pleasure for me to be able to organize these events with you through Educators in VR. And the Universal Experience is lasting for 30 days. So it goes all the way to May the 30th. Frame VR, the web XR browser-based social, creative, and educational VR platform. You can find it at framevr.io. Here's another one. Have you guys ever checked out Learn Bright? It's an educational platform and headset that makes learning in VR safe and exciting. You want to check that out at learnbright.com. And last but certainly not least, the amazing Tony Cube Studios for the generosity and spirit and management of the videos that are capturing all of these wonderful moments in live streaming, the Educators in VR and Virtual World Society Universal Experience. And now I have to say, if you haven't been in this space before at this fireside with Tom, you are in for a treat. If you have been, you want this to get started. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Donna, once again for that really kind and sweet introduction. It's wonderful to be here again in this beautiful space. It sort of feels warm, doesn't it, even with the fire? Because we have some folks here from Florida say we're warm enough as it is, but nevertheless, this is an opportunity for us to get even hotter, right? So this is a part of certainly the Universal Experience. What a great thing this is. I mean, the whole idea started about in February of last year, and it was such a miracle what happened. We're backed by popular demand, and since that time, the Educators in VR and the Virtual World Society have sort of been courting each other and going out on dates, and now we've sort of joined. We're partners in this, and we're really happy to do that, and thankful for all those who've joined us in the audience. This is a first time for us to have an amazing group of people. Usually we just have one other folk beside me on the stage, but this time we have a combination of not only educators and executive directors and administration of education in schools, but also a project that had to do with taking VR into homes, into families. And we're going to hear from all of these folks and how the intricacies of how all this worked. And again, this is sort of the first to have all of these things happening at once. So my guests today are really, they are giants themselves. Let me sort of start, and what I'd like to do, by the way, is I'll sort of introduce you, and then maybe you could say just something short about you and what you're doing and why you're here and things like that. So let's start with Stephen here on my right.
How you doing? My name is Stephen Quiles. I am a part of Gulfstream Academy, Broward County Schools. I'm here as a parent, just learning, what the virtual world has to offer for building spaces for online child interaction and activities.
Wonderful to have you with us, Stephen. And we're really excited to hear about your experiences as a parent using this technology in the home. Okay,
Right,
well, let's move
right.
on to Lori. Now, Lori, you know Lori probably pretty well. Lori is actually an administrator, exec director in the Broward County Schools. So why don't you introduce yourself, Lori?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us in Broward here. We started this adventure back in November, and it seems like now it's been years that we've already been in the virtual world, and it's just amazing. I keep using the words mind blowing because that is the way that it feels to us. It's a great partnership because we, as the school system, work with National Center for Families Learning that you'll hear about today. They're the ones that first reached out to us at a group called Exponential Destiny, and they shared or came up with this plan of how could we use the virtual space to really support our families in family learning. And from that point, we reached out to several families like Mr. Stephen here and Miss Tamara. And I saw Miss Tamara came in. Hi, Tamara. And we
She's
worked
here.
multiple departments and areas within the school system with our families and with National Center for Families Learning. So we look forward to sharing with you, and we just thank you for teaching us all about this virtual space because the potential, not just for our families, but of course with the children and for us to learning is unlimited. So thank you for having us.
You bet. Thanks so much. And so let's turn over here to Shea. Shea represents the National Center for Family Learning. And so why don't you tell us a little about yourself, Shea?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So, Shea Coughlin, I am Senior Vice President at the National Center for Families Learning. And Lori just shared a little bit about kind of how we got here, but we have a mission to eradicate poverty through education solutions for families. And so you might wonder, how does an anti poverty organization end up in a virtual reality space? And what we're doing is, we see the writing on the wall, and we've been really talking to a lot of advisors. And when we realized that virtual immersive family learning might be something we want to explore, we looked to our closest friends and family in Broward County Public Schools and asked them if they'd be willing to kind of take this ride with us and test some things out. And we're so excited to be kind of on this journey together. So I know we'll talk more about the details, but that's kind of how we ended up here today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Shea. Okay, and then you have your colleague at NCFL, and she is, of course, sort of the bridge, I think, to the actual parents and schools. Kristen?
Hello, everyone. I've never been called a bridge before, and I must say I like it. Yes, I work for NCFL. For the past 2 years, I'm a family learning specialist. Prior to that, I taught history to 11th and 12th graders in Washington, D.C. And that's when I met NCFL, so to speak, in 2015, when I was miraculously awarded the Teacher of the Year award. Thank you again for that. And I kind of was dating them. I call it dating them for a couple years. And then in 2019, I went ahead and made it official and joined the NCFL team. And now I am the luckiest person in the world. I get to work with different counties, such as Broward County, and families, and see how we can improve family engagement. And I'm so excited to bring family engagement to the virtual reality world. So thank you so much for having me.
And congratulations to you for that award. Amazing. And now
Thank
we
you
have
so much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And now next is Angeline Dayton. Now, Dr. Dayton is an old friend of the family, so to speak. She has not only been involved with educators in VR, but also with the Virtual World Society, and is also a teacher and educator. And well, she'll tell you about that. I don't want to steal her thunder. And
I am
Angelina.
the I'm the senior research scientist for Virtual World Society, and I helped co-found Students in VR as a part of Educators in VR with the wonderful Donna McTee. I'm known as the VR lady in real life and virtually because I've taken VR out here to the rural communities of Indian Country, Oklahoma, and I've put over 10,000 people in headsets, students, families, the woman who does my nails, the lady at the bank, the woman who sat next to me on the airplane ride, whoever I can get in a headset. And I have been in education for over 35 years as both an K-12 educator, K-12 administrator, and teaching in higher ed. And so now I get to hang out with Tom all day long. So I have the best job ever. And I have 7 children of my own, and we have more headsets in our home than we have heads. So it's a wonderful experience. I'm so
Indeed,
glad to be here
delightful.
and to listen to all the wisdom from the panel. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Okay, and now it's Daniel. Now, Daniel, I don't know exactly about your role, but you tell us.
I'm the surprise guest for you today. I'm the surprise guest for you today, Tom. What can I say? So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, esteemed colleagues, for being up here. What we're here to do is to hear the stories of how VR is able to connect adults, schools, institutions, resources together in the virtual world. I have the privilege of serving as Chief Academic Officer in Broward County Public Schools. My job is to help define what our students need to be able to do when they leave us after 13 years of public investment. When I became a teacher in the early 90s, cutting edge was building a 2-dimensional web page. And in the early 2000s, it migrated to motion capture and digital video. Today it is VR, and we are going to continue to have evolutions in technology, which, if we are not careful about, will produce generational divides between students and parents and equity divides between communities of haves and have-nots. Broward County Public Schools is the 6th largest district in the country, and we are absolutely committed to having VR and yet to emerge technologies be accessible to all students throughout our community. And we know that our students are going to party like it's 2099 because they're more than half of them are going to live that long. And who knows what kinds of technologies are going to progress through their lives. And part of our job is to make them comfortable with technological innovation. So, Tom, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Okay, and now Tamara's here. Is that right? Good, good. Why don't you also come up a little bit closer to Dan and introduce yourself?
Sorry, guys, I'm late. I was persistent. I was not going to give up to join. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamara. I'm also a student, but I also work at Gulfstream Early Learning Center as a CDA teacher for infants and toddlers. I am a mother of 3 and currently in Broward College pursuing my bachelor's in education.
Wonderful. Wonderful to have you with us. And so, in this, let's have hearts for this amazing audience. Maybe it's our panelists. Okay, sorry, amazing audience. Okay, well, let's get down to business. So, let's see. I think that Daniel, you may need to mute. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think we're getting some echoes from your system. Okay, so how did this happen? This is my question. And let's start off with you, Shea. Tell us a little about the NCFL and how you got into this whole business of families and VR and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Tom, thanks. Oh, I'm hearing that echo too. So it all started for us, I would say, at our 2019 annual conference. We had a keynote speaker named Marcus Shingles who closed out that event, and he was focusing on bringing ideas, kind of a dual ideas to our audience. One being converging exponential technology and kind of talking about how, the at the time, the latest technology of 3D printing and artificial intelligence and virtual reality and all of these things that are, becoming more common as the days go on, how they're all converging together at a pace, that's never been like this in history and will continue to just be exponential over time. And he paired that with the idea of abundance and how this is a key moment in time, a key opportunity for us working in the education space to make sure that we are, on this ride and understand what's happening in kind of the future global marketplace and the economy. And I remember, I might be botching a line he used, but one of the things that stuck with me is he was talking to our, audience of about 1,000 teachers and professionals and families, policymakers and funders who work in the family engagement space. And he's like, said to something along the lines of, you need to Uber yourself before you get Kodaked. So, gone are the days, I thought that was funny. So gone are the days where we can rely on kind of, status quo, traditional ways of reaching families, of working with families as partners. And so we really, we listened that day. Some of us, I think, had a little anxiety, but we continued to think on that and stay in touch with Marcus. And our board really pushed us to think about how we could explore virtual reality in the family engagement space. And so we did that. And then, like I said, one of a colleague who may be in the audience, I'm not sure, Josh and I were thinking, okay, who are the ideal partners to really explore this with? And Broward County Public Schools is a group that we hold dear and dear to our hearts. I think we began partnering in 1991. So there's, a foundation of trust there. They do excellent work. We just are always thrilled to be able to partner with them on any project. And so we got started, as Lori said, in November, and I'll let others talk, but we're in the midst of doing a VR challenge where we've got 5 different teams who had not been in virtual reality just, 4 or 5 months ago, creating these learning experiences, families, the school district, NCFL, a group called Exponential Destiny, which focuses on young entrepreneurs in the technology space, all working together to make different learning experiences, and kind of failing fast and failing forward is our mantra. And so does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. And so now, where does Kristen come into the picture?
Where do I come into the picture? So the moment they mentioned virtual reality, I pounced. I was like, oh my God, I have to be a part of it because I'm in love with the barriers that it removes for families. And I feel like it makes everything not just education, but just literally everything more accessible. And so the top 2 barriers that struck out to me were transportation. You don't have to really go anywhere. You can put the goggles on and be everywhere. And so I love that. It's bringing people from all over, I was going to say the country, but literally the world, in one common space, and you can share information and knowledge and connect with each other. So I love that. And then when I was teaching and working with families and parents, childcare was always another issue. Like I can't leave because I have to get someone to watch my child or something of that nature. And with the virtual reality, again, it eliminates kind of that barrier. Not completely, you still, have to watch kids, of course, but it's not a barrier. You can't say, oh, I can't make it to this event because I can't find child care. And so we have sent out child care kits actually for a group we've doing work with this kind of work with, so that kids can have something to do while our parents are in the virtual reality world. So with that being said, when they were signing up people to be on this project, I hope I wasn't too aggressive, Shay, in saying that, I really wanted to. And Laura, I know she's in the audience. I'm probably sent a dozen emails about ideas trying to sneak my way onto the project, and joined the pink team in our competition. And so really excited to work with Stephen, Tamara, the families. I've enjoyed it so much. And so the short answer to your question, Tom, and I know it's too late for the short answer, but I basically snuck myself onto the team. And so I'm here to stay.
Indeed. Okay, well, that's the bridge builder is now in business, and so now we go to the schools, to the school administration, uh, and so this is not a first rodeo for you guys, right? You've been working together with the NCFL in Broward County for many years. You said 91, I believe. Is that right, Lori? So this you were approached, and what did you think about that? What was your initial reaction to this idea? I need to unmute.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Because we had worked with NCFL for so many years, and it's all about, yes, how we're working with the families and the children, so the parents and the children at the same time, to then impact the entire family. It was taking a different perspective in this virtual reality world, but knowing their organization and what we had done through the years, it was going to be able to piggyback on that to build to a higher standard. So being able to see how we've been able to do that in the virtual reality world, again, I say it was mind blowing. I have to say it again, because as Kristen shared, you get to leave the walls of your home, the walls of our community, and open up to people and places around the world. So there's just so many learning opportunities to be able to do that.
Wonderful. And of course, Daniel, you probably had to stay in this too. So what was your take on it from the school side?
So Lori brought me this crazy idea, this proposal that she put forth, and we talked about it. And one of the things that is just a harsh reality for K-12 educators is we have limited time, limited resources, limited attention. And so in order to do this, we wanted to make sure that we were doing something which could grow into something larger and not just be a one-off, not just be a form of, hey, fun, cool technology entertainment. But did we believe that there was actually the potential expansion of being able to partner with families like we've got here today, in order to make sure that what we're doing in 2021 is something that grows in 22 and 23. Additionally, I asked some questions of our partners about, was it possible for our community, and in particular our students, to not just be consumers of the technology, but to actually learn the skills to be designers and constructors, so that they were empowered by the technology and not just having things beamed to their eyeballs. And in this case, wearing goggles instead of sitting in front of a tube. And the short answer was absolutely. And the team that NCFL has put together has modeled how to bring young people to be designers in order to see themselves being able to build their future using the technology and not just being consumers of it. So we've been really excited and extremely grateful.
Wow. So this sets the stage for the action. The action is really going to be happening now in the test bed of the home. And so let's turn our attention to these parents and what your experience was. Now, these were all good plans and good ideas and a lot of high-powered thinking behind this, but this is where the action happens, right, Stephen? Tell us about your experience and then picking up on this.
So, I was introduced to this program from Gulfstream Academy, Early Learning Center. I have a 5-year-old. I'm a father of 3. Um, when I was given this opportunity, I was really excited. I'm a big fan of virtual world and quote unquote, gaming or whatnot. My child is a fan of gaming as well, and I wanted to because COVID-19 hit. I traveled for work. Uh, Sometimes schools wasn't sure when it was going to be open or whatnot. So this helped me open my imagination up to what, kids can be doing at home versus just playing a game if interested in some kind of virtual reality programming. So, being that my son is 5 and he's into gaming, I figure how can I introduce gaming in a way where a child is going to learn versus, have his mind distracted differently. So this has been a very great program for me to learn. To help, you know, just basically, introduce myself to what's, capable out there in the at home learning world. Last week I was in New York. I was able to put these goggles on and still actually perform in some activity. I think, just being able to have this at the palm of your hands, can help parents. As she was saying, she cannot leave, her child at home
Mhm.
alone. She has to, stay home or whatnot. So these programs, I think, are A+ for the future, and help build a better environment and space for our children, to do the right thing versus the wrong.
Wow. Okay. So let's turn to Tamara. What is your experience?
My experience has been great. I've I'm not a fan of gadgets and gaming, but having a 15-year-old boy, and he is, I was intrigued by Miss Dr. Cannon to go into the virtual reality and being in it. I am a great fan. I'm a big fan of it right now. I love it, and I'm the one enjoying it at home. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we use this the Oculus as a family time. On
Mm.
Sundays we get together and we will find something to do, and it's very exciting. As sorry, I forgot your name, sir. I think we're both the same person.
You look the same.
I
And
just
we all
realized.
we're just mother, brothers and sisters from a different mother.
That's
I'm
right.
Dan.
That's right.
Right. I'm sorry. When he said that, our generation, future generation, should be learn how to use game, create apps, and not just a consumer. It sits well with me because I always encourage my son, learn instead of playing the game, learn how to create a website, learn how to
Mm.
do stuff
Mhm.
that can enhance you. So I
Mm.
really thank you for that. And I wish he was here to hear that from you, but I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Lori, for introducing me.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So let's talk to Angelina a little bit. Angelina perhaps has a little bit different perspective. She's certainly been an advocate of VR for some time. She is called the VR lady, rightly so. And she mentioned she has a house full of kids and more headsets than kids, and she's been putting headsets on people for some time. And so, you've been a principal, you've been a teacher, you're an anthropologist, all these things. So, Angelina, tell us what it's really like. Your
Well,
standpoint. How does it contrast with what we heard here from the Broward parent?
Know that it contrasts at all. I would say a couple of the things that we do are really in alignment. I like to say that emerging technology has finally caught up with the creativity and genius of youth, and I think you've all already discovered that. I also like to say that they are not students are not the recipients of the world, but they create the world that they want to inhabit. And so you find them not just as content consumers, but as content contributors and content creators. And when I go into a classroom or I go into a home, I say the best thing an adult can do is get out of their way. because one of my favorite very quick stories is that I was at a very impoverished school in Cherokee Nation, Oklahoma, and I had taken some students into a back room and let them play with VR. And then the secretary came in and said, "Do you know that they got a proxy server, got through the firewall, and are now live streaming this on the internet?" And I said, "No, I didn't, but don't you think that's awesome?" And of course, the administrator said, "No, but they were wrong. It was totally awesome because they actually had more capability than what we can ever create for them. They are going to build more creatively, and better than anything we can provide for them." So, and my children are the same way. I'm by far the least technical person in my home, and I'm pretty technical. They call me Tony Stark as a mom, so I'm pretty technical. My kids out technical me regularly, and I think I would like to second everything everybody said on the panel. I think you guys are right on in all of your perspectives. So I don't disagree at all.
Okay, thanks so much, Angeline. Well, so I want to introduce two other people on the audience here. Caitlin, is Caitlin still here? Um, Caitlin and Daniel.
Hi, I'm on the upper balcony over here.
Oh, there you
Can
are.
you see
She's up
me?
high on
I
high.
just
We
wanted
see
to get
you.
a good view. And I will tell you, I've been, as much as I can, I've been sharing out some of the quotes on Twitter because even right now, I mean, Angelina mentioned Tony Stark. I've been laughing out loud. This idea of creative consumption and moving that into the design mindset. Uh, there's, hopefully you can hear me. There's so much that's reaching me right now. And, just want to share that I think there are many people in the audience who probably feel a deep resonance with the way that you're empowering people in Broward County, empowering, we talk about these philosophies, but what do they look like on the ground in the use cases and examples of the stories of people we work with? So just know it's touching my heart, and I'm inspired by each of you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Caitlin. And
Yeah.
Daniel, my science
I'm
is
right here.
there's Daniel. Daniel, so what a reason I'm introduced, certainly Daniel and Caitlin are both involved with the Virtual World Society, and also Daniel, co-founder of the Educators in VR. And so
Right.
Daniel, in his desire to link us with families, stumbled on to the NCFL. And as a result of that, we began a journey together. And now we're in, just like with Educators in VR, we're sort of joined at the hip. We have a agreement that's almost signed, completed. But we were so excited about this whole idea that there were people already who were working with families, that families became a learning center, that were not replacing the schools, but were what augmentation was an opportunity to basically stimulate uh, uh, and teach families so that poverty to deal with the poverty situation. So and so we will thank Daniel for that and for all the contributions and
My
Caitlin as
pleasure.
well. And
I
so
just jumped
you're
down
with
next to
Kristen.
Keely.
There we go.
I jumped down here so I could be a little closer. Yes, it's
There you go.
wonderful to meet everybody together on stage.
So now let's turn our attention to sort of we sort of can pat each other on the back. We can say that we have we've think that we have something that's really important here for the future of education, both in the home and in schools. But where do we go from here? Let me tell you a little bit of my experience, and we can maybe discuss this. I've been working on VR for 55 years and started out in the first half of my career working for the Department of Defense. I was basically developing fighter cockpits for the military and flying in the fighters. And this is where we invented virtual reality to begin with. But it didn't take us long to realize that this was really a powerful technology for education, for training, because you never forgot it. And it activated your spatial memory and things like that. So I left the military and became an academic, University of Washington, and and started a laboratory where we continued to develop virtual reality technology and ended up spinning off 27 companies and building the core technology that's used today in the systems that you're wearing. And so, but it was clear to me that we were always looking for the what we call the killer app. And killer is probably not the best word to use here, but the idea of something that would really show the power of this technology. And you know, it's always been education. It's always been training and education, a transportation system for the senses, for the mind. We knew that. And here I and my laboratory have conducted ourselves about 9 studies funded by the National Science Foundation and others that have proven without a question the power of this technology for education. So one of the things we wanted to do in the Virtual World Society is let's go ahead and start getting it into schools. And we had a new school in Seattle called the Robert Eagle Staff Middle School, brand new school, brand new building. And the principal was an enlightened principal, and she said to the administration, she said, the only way I'm going to be the principal of this school is if you let me pick the teachers, my school, and that going to fill it with VR. Now she happened to be a friend of mine, and she'd been in VR, and she knew what would do. And so we started with this middle school, mainly with sixth graders, 11, 12-year-old kids. Basically, we started out with the whole notion that we were going to, of course, equip the school with some of these headsets, but that the kids were going to build the virtual worlds, not the adults. And so here we had 27 students, 28 students in 4 groups, 7 students each, developing virtual worlds that taught STEM subjects, gravity, light, um, scale, and momentum to other 6th grade students. And it was phenomenal. They didn't know anything about VR. This was their first experience with it. But within days, working together, they started creating these worlds to teach these subjects. And of course, the students, the teachers just stand around and say, wow, I had no idea. And the problem is, we said we went then to the school district, we went to the suppliers of technology, the schools in the Seattle area and the Pacific Northwest. They said, yes, it's all well and good, but there's a real problem. Schools don't have any money. And technology is going to cost something. And not only is it going to cost for the technology, it's going to cost for the support of the technology and the content and all these kinds of things. And the teachers are complaining already. It takes them 15 minutes to get the students booked into their Chromebooks when they come into class. And so can we take it? I mean, is it something that can be absorbed? So that was sort of discouraging. But at the same time, we saw what was happening with Angelina and how she was able to get this going in schools, and of course, she bought a lot of the headsets and donated them herself. But how are we going to solve this problem? Actually getting it into the hands where it will really make the difference with the support that's needed for it. So I'm gonna turn to you, Lori, and see what you have to think about that.
See if I can unmute this time. Thank you for sharing that. It's funny because when we first got that call and I presented it to many of our partners, almost everybody smiled and said, yes, that sounds like a great idea. We did have a couple people who questioned and pushed back, like you said, with the schools that you heard. Why would we spend that amount of money to then go into a virtual world when really we should be spending the money on other things? But the majority of people, I think, saw the potential and they just, again, went for it full force. How we were able to get our greatest cost that we had was the devices themselves. And we were able to get a private funder, an education foundation, to help provide those goggles for us. Once we did that and we got the stories from the parents, we took pictures, we shared those stories, we were able to get additional funding. And I think once you start with just 1 or 2 sets of goggles and those stories and the impact, that's where it builds. And then from there, we were able to use not just the families, but our district staff. So what surprised me also is anytime you have a new project, and I love to call it an opportunity. Here's an opportunity for everybody if you want to join. And everybody always laughs because it turns into more work. But I said, here's a new project. Would you be interested? I'm an early childhood literacy leader in our county. So I oversee early childhood and literacy, not necessarily technology, and certainly not in the virtual reality world. I reached out to our ESE team, our ESOL team, our literacy team, other early childhood teams, and yes, the technology folks. And I was amazed about how many people came and joined in on this project where, again, it was more work, but we're calling it a hobby. So it's not necessarily a part of our work. I'm considering this a learning hobby that I'm doing. And we don't see it. I haven't got the chance yet to see it with children in schools because we've been targeting our families, but the feedback that we've heard from our families and what they're doing with their own children is amazing. As Dan shared, it's not just that we're coming together to learn together and talk and communicate together, but we're actually learning the technology pieces. So in our pilot program, we've had 4 parents and all different ranges of technology expertise. What I love is we've learned together. So even before we came into here, Tamara was having trouble logging in, and Stephen, who's one of our parents learning throughout the progress, said, I'm logging off, I'm gonna go help her. So you were able to help her, and you've been helping the rest of our families throughout this process. So it's all about learning together, learning the technology, but also being able to learn about parenting and families throughout the process also.
Wow. So Dan, you have anything to add to that?
Well, Lori says it so well, but I'll take a phrase from my coffee cup, which in our Office of Academics has 3 words on it: play, learn, achieve. Doesn't matter if there's technology there. We as humans learn by play. And so that's really the phase we're in right now, is in the play phase. And we're learning how to deploy these technologies. And we don't put them in the hands of our so-called experts. We put them in the hands of the people we're serving, Stephen and other parents and students. And let's learn from their experiences and move things forward. We'll get to achievement. This will never be part of our accountability system, and we don't want it to be. But we do believe that our students developmentally will benefit as people by learning to be able to extend their worlds to the virtual dimension.
Wow. Okay, now Angelina. Well, here you have your family, and you've and also the kids that you've dealt with as when you were principal and things like that. I think we have about the panelists mute that aren't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so why don't you give us your take now on this from what you've been experiencing in the home and how this could be amplified across the schools and as well.
I think the answer is not how, but when. My friend in the audience, Doug from Nokia, the estimates in industry right now is that within the next 10 years, there'll be 1 billion XR users, that screens will not become the primary way that we interact, but with wearable technology instead. That doesn't mean screens go away. Books didn't go away when we got computers. So when we talk about money and investment, if you knew that in 10 years, there'd be 1 billion people using the technology for your healthcare, for your industry, for your training, it would make logical sense that you would move in that direction. And I like to tell the story. People who've heard me talk have heard this story a million times. In the late 1990s, I was telling people that soon we'd be doing all of our banking online, and people looked me in the face and said, Angelina, you are crazy. That's never going to happen. So whether or not people believe something is going to happen and whether or not it's going to happen are two different things. And so as educators, as parents, we want to train our children in the medium that'll be the primary medium for everything that they do in the future. And, I'm looking past even the functionality to the fashion of how is it going to look on my face? What kind of glasses do I want? Do I want them blue? Do I want them green? Because it's that inevitable in my future. I see that wearable technology is where things are going. And so as a mother and as an educator, it's my responsibility. I had a computer lab in my elementary school in 1983. And it made all the difference in my life when you talk about breaking out of poverty, when you talk about opportunity, when you talk about choices in life. And so I think bringing that to students is really, really what we need to be doing. So those are my 2 cents.
Wow.
I agree with everybody on the panel. I think you guys are absolutely going in the right direction. I can't wait to support you in any way I can.
Wow. Well, we're sort of running out of time already, but we have a little time left, and I would like to hear from everyone of your vision of what's next. What should we be doing right now? What's next from your perspective in terms of taking advantage of this technology or whatever we should be doing to help our children and for that matter, adults, because let's face it, um, now with this, the press of technology, um, keeping up is going to be a real challenge. And um, uh, people who are adults who are in mid-career, their job goes away. What are they going to do? Are they going to go to school? Well, they probably aren't going to go back to school again. Probably going to have to learn somewhere else, probably in their home. So learning is not just for children. It's really for lifelong learning, I believe, and for transgenerational. But start with you again, Stephen, about what do you think is next?
What I think is next, there's endless possibilities, in my opinion, when it comes to the virtual reality world. Uh, you know, I remember growing up and trying to explain to my parents that they're not understanding, what's going on in the classroom, and they saying how things once were, and really, things did change. So I think that just this virtual reality gives you a lot more hands-on work where you can be able to perform with your children or your family in an environment where you don't have to be in the same room. A lot of kids grow up without parents, right? Maybe without dads, without moms, right? They're not able to see their parents as often as they like. So now with virtual reality, we can have parents spend more time with their children doing schoolwork, doing things that, are going to create a memory, laughter, and just, again, just doing things that are going to progress in the educational world. So again, I think it's endless. I'm very excited. This is, my 5-year-old is very, he's very good with architect kind of work. He plays this game called Minecraft, and he's very good at it. So
Yes.
to be able to provide a more realistic kind of environment for him, I mean, it's endless what this 5-year-old's brain would be able to absorb. In environments such as the world. So that's what I have to offer. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, Lori. Lori, can we hear from you?
You're going in and out a little bit, so I'm sorry if I missed.
sorry.
I didn't hear what your question is. The future of this.
Yeah, what's next?
I would love to be able to expand this to additional families. As I shared, we started with 4. Part of that mission from NCFL is how do we work with developing families and even adults who are learners themselves, either through getting their GED or English language learners. And I want to be able to expand to that to focus on the learning of the parent as well as the child. And I want to thank Stephen and Tamara, who took on the challenge when they were presented with the opportunity. There's that word again.
That's right.
Yes, we will do it, and anything that you need. And they've given us a lot of feedback throughout that process. So thank you, Stephen and Tamara.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you as
wonderful.
well. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, Shay, what do you think? Look what you've created. You've really uh, been a domino effect, right?
Yeah, this is so exciting. I think the thing I would focus on is something we're doing right now, but we want to continue to scale it, is the idea of co-creation. And what I mean by that is we, NCFL, Broward, the families, we want to design what we're doing in a way that's relevant to the families we're working with. If we're just, coming into this to have fun and a good time, that's great. But we have from day one engaged families in a way that, folks like Stephen and Tamara, they're developing the ideas that we're pursuing together. So, for example, this first 8-week VR challenge we did together was about healthy living on a budget, which was a theme selected by parents. And so when we get to the end of that 8 weeks and we've got 5 different learning experiences, it's already applicable, not only in the fact that we've all learned these VR skills together, but that the content we're creating and producing together is relevant to our lives. So I just want to stick with that kind of theme and know that we're going to continue to scale that.
Cool. Thanks for that. Okay, Kristen, what's next?
Hello. For me, I just really kind of want to piggyback off of what Shay says. I'm also a big lover of co-design. That's probably the other thing my coworkers would say I talk about. Not too much, there's no such thing, but all the time. And going for our second round, we keep talking about this competition that we're participating in. I would love to even see the families on the design teams, like get them in the groups. Now they're judging, and I don't want to. The votes aren't in yet. I don't know who won, you all. I don't want to put in the judges' mind vote pink, but vote pink. But this time to have the
Go
parents actually
green, go green.
You know what? I knew I was going to start something. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But I want Stephen and Tamara to actually be on the teams, my team, but any team, and go from there. So, what do we need to do next? I think we're doing it. I think we are absolutely doing it. We're getting everyone from everywhere involved. They're putting the technology in people's hands, so we can all co-create and think about where we can go with this. And then just one other thing I wanted to say real quick, when I was talking about barriers, I forgot to mention my other favorite barrier, which is language justice, I would actually call it. This technology has the capability to interpret in many languages simultaneously, and so that people can receive information in their heart language and organically, and that is also amazing tool, because that is something that creates a barrier between us communicating with each other. And so again, yeah, I think we're in the right action step. We're doing what we need to do, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of the process with everyone on the panel, and the audience, and everyone in the world who has the same goal as we share. So thanks again for having me, guys.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, Angelina.
I just want to continue to build on all of the wisdom that's on this panel. I also have a son who's very interested in Minecraft, and he also does a collaborative animation. And what I'd like to say is that those ideas of fluid collaboration already exist within our youth. They already do things collaboratively. And so I like to say that we as educators often think that we have to create the thing that students need to learn, but I really think that it's the difference between Ptolemy's idea of the universe and Copernicus's idea of the universe, right? We are not, as educators, are not the center of the universe, even though it feels like it sometimes, and even as parents, right? And so we have to switch our paradigm from that Ptolemaic perspective to the Copernican perspective, which is they do everything better than us, and they're more creative than us, and they already know how to collaborate. And if we start to let the young people lead with a cell phone, they will create a revolution within their country. They've already done it before. And so I encourage people really to take the time to listen to the ideas of our youth, who again have the creativity and genius to lead us into the world that they're creating because they want to live in a better world than what we've provided them. So, so I just a shout out to the kids that aren't here today, but in spirit are inside all of us still. And let us. I think the wave is as Caitlin and Tom often say, it's through wonder. And so I just like to encourage all of us to be a little bit risk taking and let the children lead us a little more. So those are my 2 cents again. So 4 cents from me today.
Thank you, Angelina. Daniel, let's go to you now.
So what I'm going to say is we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate the efforts that we're having and that we need to acknowledge it. But celebration by yourself is not very fun. So we need to share. And that means sharing the celebrations, but it also means sharing our efforts, both our successes and our failures. And technically, that means interoperability. And I think we need to insist that the kind of spaces, the kinds of products that people have are able to be used across the board. We don't need proprietary silos around this. Let's have as much open standards approach as we can. And last, just building off what we've just heard, the best thing we can do is create spaces and time for our youth to show us what to do as they do it, and we'll follow in their wake. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Tamara?
Hi. My takeaway is that we're all here, educators, builders, founders of all this virtual society. Our possibilities are endless, and wherever this goes, I'm there. I'm already teaching my kids. I'm already teaching my families, my extended families, and I am ready for wherever this takes us. I'm new to all of this, and this experience is very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and it's amazing. This is a happening to get all of us together like this. And just think of the power that's in this room and the power in our kids. I mean, our children, everyone actually has more power than they think. And just starting small, but having a vision, it can happen. That's how a movement happens. And we were talking about the beginning of a movement where we celebrate. We celebrate each other and uniqueness that we have, the diversity we have, that not everybody has to fit in the same mold. In this, let's face it, VR is just a tool. It's a tool that can help us grow and become better. There'll be other tools that follow, but in the end, it's about what's in our hearts and what's in our imagination. We just need to keep that imagination alive. We need to spark it, of course, but and inspire it, but we also need to harness it. And again, what we have out of this with these young people are new leaders and new teachers. And I want to introduce a new profession. You know, we've talked about all these new names that come out because we have coders and we have engineers and we have I think there's another class profession that's going to happen, and I call that creatician. What we're doing is creating creaticians, just like statisticians, like mathematicians. This is a whole new thing, bringing together the art and science and technology, all of the thought that we have access to in this amazing age. And then creaticians are world builders that give experiences to not only themselves but others. So thank you, audience, also for being here. It looks like we're about out of time. Donna, what are our options here in terms of asking questions of the audience?
Would you like to take a couple questions? Do you want to?
Why don't we take
have
a
time
couple of
for
questions?
a couple. Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Let's take a couple of questions.
Okay, hang on. I just have to get myself technically ready for this. My apologies. I should have anticipated you, Tom. Okay. The raise hand is is down to your bottom right. If anybody'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I will give you the ability to unmute yourself. Jeff, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead. Daniel, you're next. Oh, Jeff, are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, I'm going to try one more time. We've been having a little bit of trouble with this. I so apologize.
How about now?
Here we go.
Yes, yes.
Did that work?
Yes.
All right. This was amazing. Thank you, everybody. I lit up there for a moment around the idea of bridging the language gap. Can you explain a little bit more how that relates?
Okay. Guess that falls in. Does that fall in your category, Lori?
I think Kristen's the one.
Kristen mentioned it. Sorry, I
Kristen's
couldn't
gonna
remember your name for a second.
sorry,
Kristen, it was. Yeah.
So the varying apps that I've tried, Spatial, ALTSPACE, Engage, they all offer different translation. Some have live translation, some have or the different goggles as well has the ability to translate into some have okay, so don't give me the quoting, okay? Don't quote me on this.
Okay.
But I want to say that Engage had about 37 languages that you can translate into. Spatial has live translation for, I know, at the very minimum, English to Spanish and, vice versa. But when I taught in DC for about 10 years, and DC has many languages represented, and so the kids I taught would be either English language learners or were fully new English and have to translate for their parents. And so just with these goggles, I'm sorry, although the VR lady's right, I'm picking out my glasses when they come in a couple years too.
Likewise.
I'm already thinking fashion forward. So you can get in here and then still have one person present, like you can listen to me talk and everybody in here could be listening to in their own heart language, whatever language they prefer. So that's been a major barrier, and I can only speak for me in the education world. When I couldn't communicate with my families the way I really wanted to, or I'd always and they do have other like free translation call centers you could call, resources that were available to us, but to have it in a headset where it's real time and I could sit here and speak my heart language and everyone can listen in theirs is something I just think is incredible. It's it's a game changer. It truly is.
And if I could share, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom, we work with English language learners, adult English language learners. You've heard Gulfstream mentioned a couple times. At Gulfstream Early Learning Center, we have pre-K programs, and we also have adult programs. And the goal is to put goggles on the English language learners so that you can access those translation devices, but also use it as a tool to help them as learning the English language. We use, books and resources and bring them into rooms to help. But when you bring them into a room like this and you show all the different objects that you can instantly bring to you, a bear or a hippopotamus or a book or an apple, imagine the English language learning opportunities. So that is our goal.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Quite interesting.
Okay, Tom, we're just going to close with Daniel's question and then I'll close the session, okay? Thank you, Tom.
I'm very lucky to have the opportunity to ask a question. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for the work you're doing with families, because I think families are going to benefit gratefully from this. And I just wanted to, so I sometimes imagine, look at the avatars around you. And now imagine that these weren't people who are maybe peers and colleagues, but imagine these were your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents. Imagine this was a family reunion right now. and that you could, my family is spread across North America, Europe. I have family in Australia, in Britain, and especially with travel, you can't meet up. Imagine this was a family reunion, and we could have a snowball fight in here in the middle of summer, or we could go on a 360-degree tour of something. This is what I'm excited about. And in order for that to happen, families need to be exposed, need to learn about it, and we need content for families, and we need kind of the mentors for families. So the work that's happening here today between the Virtual World Society and NCFL and others who will come after, I think is laying the groundwork for that. So I'm looking forward to my family reunion in VR, and I hope you all get to have that as well. It wasn't a question. It was just a thought to share. Sorry.
Well, thank you, Daniel. And,
Yeah, right.
and let me thank once again our wonderful panel. Let's have a round of hearts for our panel, certainly.
Yes,
You've had to
thank you.
travel a long distance to be here.
Yeah.
Although you traveled at the speed of light, that's sort of cool. And I want to thank the audience for your participation and being here. I think we all share these same values and really look forward to as this evolves. And want to thank
Yeah.
Donna for your hosting and
Yeah.
for educators in VR and for all that they've done for us in our partnership. And we are excited about the gathering of partners, and that where we can all work together to help things happen like have happened in Broward County and also in the Cherokee Nation. And we're happy to join up with NCFL and be a partner there and help promote your mission as well using the technology of our aid. So thanks everyone. This has been
Well,
wonderful. And we probably ought
Thank
to have a
you.
group photo before we go. Caitlin,
Tom,
I was gonna, yeah.
Tom, I
Mhm.
just want to close with a couple of comments, okay? If that's okay. And then
Sure.
we get doing a photo is awesome. And can I just say that we're thrilled. Univirtual is happening. The Univirtual experience is happening over almost 20 platforms. And we have to say that we're excited that you selected AltSpace because we feel the community already that you guys are building with families, and we're thrilled to expand that. I'm just so excited by this conversation. So I think everybody here is leaving inspired today. So thank you with deep gratitude. This has been another Univirtual Experience Conference with Virtual World Society and the Educators in VR, bringing together experts and innovators in immersive education, which is disrupting education around the world. Panelists, Tom, you as a host, thank you so much. Thank you to all the sponsors that made this possible. A huge thank you to HP Virtual Reality and HP Higher Education. They're our Infinity sponsor for this whole experience. We'd also like to thank Galaxy sponsors, Engage VR, Avantis, also they are changing education in VR and XR. So I'm going to close with that today and just say thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And keep watching the calendar. There's new events. I've got a lineup of people wanting to be included in this conference. The events aren't even on the calendar yet. So thank you, everyone. And we can end.
Yeah, thanks so much. I wanted to also announce our partnership. I know we've been announcing it, but this is our partner kickoff celebration today with NCFL as a partner, and we're going to be forming an alliance for good. So stay tuned and watch this space for more details about that. Just so grateful to be here and then kicking off something that connects minds and hearts and really empowers the youth voice. So cheers to that. Let's just all throw up some hearts. We can have after party conversations, pictures galore, all kinds of stuff by the fireplace.
And panel, if you want to hang around for a few minutes, as Caitlin mentioned, we can have